You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
I am one of your co-hosts. I am Javon J. Love Adams, and with me, as always, is the one and only Ed Easy Smith. He played professional baseball and also played in the National Football League. He is vested, and that is an important thing. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. A little better than some of our Cardinals out there with all these injuries popping up. Man, you would think it was mid-season already, bro.
Man, all right, so we're going to get into that. So, again, thank you for those that are tuning in. We bring you our brand of how we break down the National Football League, and in particular, the Arizona Cardinals. And so we're going to get into the Week 1 matchup. And by the way, we are now 2 days a week, so Mondays and Thursdays. Tell a friend to tell a friend how it goes down in the streets, man. But we are going to be breaking down the Week 1 opponent, the matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs. And so, as Ed so eloquently put it, there's some things that are on the injury report. So we're going to talk about, of course, the breakdown of the Kansas City Chiefs, the Arizona Cardinals. Take a look at some of the two. We'll mention, of course, since this is Week 1, some of the stats from 2021. Take a look at the injury report where the Arizona Cardinals are concerned. Get Ed's thoughts on how important is it for the Arizona Cardinals to come through the first quarter of the season at maybe 2-2, given the fact that they got to go against the Chiefs, play at the Raiders, home to the Rams, and then at the Panthers. How can the Cardinals win this game? I don't think Ed thinks it can, but how can they win this game? And then first game jitters, I wanted to get Ed's thoughts on first game jitters. What that's like when the bullets are flying for real. You know, the preseason rust while the bullets fly, trying to get that rust off, and then the game prediction, of course. But so let's get to it. Let's get to it easy. So we came out today as we record this that Rondale Moore, if that's not the blackest name I'd ever heard, man, but Rondale Moore is questionable at best. He had to undergo an MRI today for a hamstring. We know about some things going on in terms of Marcus Golden. I'm sure you read and heard the same things that I have. Is Marcus Golden to hold in, as they say, because he didn't play, of course, any preseason. All that. So is he kind of because he wants a new contract? Zack Ernst, they're both game day decisions. I also saw a report that had our center as a game time decision as well. We know that your favorite player in the whole wide world,
Mr. Electric.
He is. Why is his name escaping me now?
J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt is a game time decision as well because he's dealing with some stuff with his. I want to say it's with his knee, if I'm not mistaken. But so your thoughts on this the injury report as it stands. Sometimes teams can use that as just to kind of keep their opponent on their toes as to not know what to expect. But your thoughts on this activity early on?
I'm a little confused, Jay, because we went this whole offseason protecting all of our assets like they were, fine china imported from, across the seas. Didn't want anything to happen to them. Couldn't put them in harm's way. So we played nobody during the preseason. Then you get, there's these reports that all these guys are hurt. J.J. Watt is actually a calf. You got
yes, thank you.
Golden with the toe, Hudson for rest. Rest from what? I mean, that's like going on vacation and come back and saying, man, I got to get away. I mean, I don't understand this. I really don't. And then here's the thing with these I want you to keep a track on something, Jay. With these soft
tissue
injuries, when you're playing a sport like football, it's revving up. It's getting, this is stuff that usually the stuff that we do to start the preseason, you'll have a lot of these to start, early in camp, hamstrings, quads, calves, stuff like that. And you work through those or you get those taken care of. Then you kind of have that callus built up and you get into the season. We've got guys who have not turned it up a notch yet, haven't turned it up since January of this year in terms of actual game time, action. And now you're seeing all of a sudden we got guys with toes, calves, hamstrings. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Shoulders, knees and toes.
I'm just saying, bro. So, and here's the thing. This is not the time to be going. These are injury reports, the length of them. This is like week 6, 7, 8 injury reports. Because you got to remember, bro, we're just getting ready to start the season. Once you start, you either have to sit guys down so they can get fully healthy or they have to work through that stuff. Another thing, like with, and I'm not going to pick on J.J. Watt, But
Right.
I'm gonna pick on JJ Watt here a little bit. He did go through COVID and everything like that. Totally understandable. But now he has the calf. I guess they would have to explain how that happened. But you know how little action and older JJ Watt has had getting ready to go into the season? That makes him even more injury prone, and that scares me to death. You know, he's a game time decision. We get him out there, and next you know he's down out of the lineup for 4 to 6 weeks. This is this is when you're supposed to be your healthiest of the season, especially if you planned it accordingly for that.
Ooh, interesting. And also, speaking of injuries, Cardinals placed quarterback Colt McCoy on the IR. So, you know, so your man, so McSorley, he's up to number 2 now. So at least he has some reps in case he has to get in. We already know what's up.
Yeah, that maybe they knew something all along, and they were, you know. So. But what I don't understand is maybe there was a day they had to wait to officially put Colt on the IR so he would be eligible in 4 weeks or something like that. But this has just been one head scratcher after another in terms of how are guys getting injured. It's like somebody getting in a car accident, Jay. You're like, where'd you go? Nowhere. I just stayed in the house.
You a fool, man.
I'm just saying.
Oh my God! So, as I mentioned, the aforementioned Zack Ernst, he didn't practice on Wednesday, but it looks like he did practice today, if I'm not mistaken. As we record this is Thursday. So
I thought it was actually the opposite. He actually practiced lightly yesterday.
Let's see. Let me pull that up. If my screen wants to,
it could be either way.
Yeah, you might be right there as my screen is starting to, but it does have me say that I'm a little bit worried about I think I had the prediction that they would what did I say? I have my sheet here, so I can always grab it. Yeah, I had this as a loss for the Arizona Cardinals, so I guess that wouldn't matter much, but it doesn't bode well for the start of the season, that's for sure. So again, let me scroll down here. Yeah, returns to practice for the Cardinals. So I'll get into that in just a second. But let's break down the Kansas City Chiefs, and then we'll come back to the Cardinals in terms of what we're looking at there. So the Kansas City Chiefs, we know that they made the playoffs last season. They come in with losing one of their big firepower offensive weapons with Hill, but they still have their wonderful tight end, and they still have speed, but not the same speed as a Hill, right? But of course they have Mahomes at quarterback, and their defense for the most part has always been a little bit suspect when you think about as you break them down. But when we look at the Kansas City Chiefs coming in, they've had more of their starters get some of those reps that you talk about are so important, just to have nothing else, just to dust off, shake off some of that rust that a lot of teams will be experiencing the first 4 weeks of the season, that first quarter of the season. How do you, when looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, how do you look at them, and how do you think that what are your thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs coming in for week 1?
Well, I think they had a well thought out process in terms of how to attack their offseason and their training camp. One of the things that I do like about the Chiefs, as you mentioned, they did get Mahomes and some of those guys out there on the field. They had new pieces coming in, Jay. Obviously, you lose a Tyreek Hill, and maybe some of your philosophy changes as an offense. Maybe some of your play calling, you no longer have that huge over-the-top threat, or, Tyreek could always break out. He could turn a 2-yard bubble route into an 80-yard touchdown. You no longer have that, but you have these other pieces that you brought in, Juju Smith, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and they drafted a rookie, Sky Moore. So why not, we're going to practice hard, but also let's go out in preseason and test a little bit, see what it looks like. I like the fact that they played some of their guys. Obviously, you've got one of the best quarterbacks in the games. You have two of the best minds as far as offensive coordinator and, head coach. So, defensively, we've always known that that's not their strength. But here's the thing. Are you going to be ready, meaning Arizona Cardinals, are you going to be ready to score with them in this game right out of the blocks when you haven't even so much as, you and I talk all the time about timing, about familiarity. We're coming 2 or 3 days from the game. Now, all of a sudden, Rondale Moore might not even be there. So guess what? Andy Isabella, all that work that you got in the preseason, man, okay. Only problem, though, Jay, who do you get that work with? It wasn't Kyler Murray. I mean, so all these things everything is working against you because, in my opinion, of the way you approach this offseason. And, I mean, we'll see. because you know, like I said, if they come out and they start out the season 6-2 or something like that, I might have to go hide somewhere because they're gonna make me look like a fool. But
They
I
gonna be
take my
coming
lumps.
for you. That's all right.
I take my lumps accordingly. I got to keep it real. I'm just not a fan of how we approach this off season and getting ready to go into the season. Now it's time to put up or shut up.
Here's something that you mentioned when you talked about Mahomes, and so maybe having to look at this offense a little bit differently because again, while you mentioned that they have Juju Smith-Schuster, and so with Scantling and with
More.
Hardman as well, we got Travis Kelce. But when we talk about if you're used to being able to have that home run threat all the time, and now you might have to be able to put more drives together, do you wonder, and again, we're only concerned about this one game sample size, but do you wonder if Mahomes will get a little bit antsy because he's used to being able to just go deep and do all those big things instead of having to put maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 play drives together?
I think the loss of Tyreek Hill actually works in their favor because of how teams started to attack them last year with that shell over the top. And it was like they were still trying to fit that round or square peg into the round hole when they were going against defenses that were specifically set up to stop what they did. So what they do, they started a little less of the over the top, a little more dink and dunk, take what's in front of you. That's going to open things up for how to forget to mention Travis Kelce underneath. He should have a field day. And I think because of last year's experience, they started to see. Now imagine this, Jay, if teams were able to shut them down or at least slow them down a little bit with Tyreek Hill. Now, so you don't have Tyreek Hill. That means that your philosophy must change. Otherwise, what's that thing about the definition of insanity? Now you're doing it, trying to do it without that main weapon. So the fact that they had experience going against that last year, which might have changed their philosophy, obviously with the loss of Hill. Now it's like we're prepared for that. So we could see a whole lot more efficient Mahomes. And maybe that taught him a lesson. We don't have to get this in 3 plays all the time. If it's a 10-play drive, hey, that's cool with us as long as we end up with somebody spiking the ball in the end zone or kicking it through the goalpost.
Okay. So what about if we look at the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs? They run that 4-3 defense. Over the offensive side of the ball is where they really put more of their invest their resources, right? But how are we feeling about, do you think that the defense, especially coming in week 1 where we just don't know what a team is, we know what they did the last season or maybe some of the changes that they've made, but there's still that unknown for that first quarter of the season before you figure out who a team is in this present season. Any weaknesses that you see over there where the Cardinals might be able to take advantage of something?
Well, let me just put it this way, TJ. I've done probably 4 fantasy drafts so far, and in not one of those 4 fantasy drafts has anybody picked the Kansas City Chiefs defense. So that tells you something right there. They're not built on defense. What their job as a defense is to do is slow you down, don't give stuff up over the top, make it tough on you, a real crucial stop or 2 per game, because we know our offense is going to be rolling. It's going to get to a point. Now, you don't want to get to the point where you're winning games all the time, 37, 34, 36, 35. But they're going to do that every now and then. The thing for the Chiefs defense, if we can hold to about 17, 20, 24, we know our offense is going to be more than likely putting up more points than that. So it's one of those things. They are a bend, don't break type. We saw what happened last year when the offense wasn't good and the defense was not bending, but they were getting broke. That's when the problems start. As long as they can keep from giving up big plays, keep things in front of them, stop the opponent's run game, which shouldn't be too hard against the Cardinals because we particularly don't have one. They're going to be in pretty good shape when they play teams like us.
Okay, so what about this? So looking at, and you bring up a good point in terms of when you talk about the defense again, looking at 2021. So if we points for the Kansas City Chiefs, they were 4th, 28.2 points a game. Points against, 21.4, and that was 8th in terms of out of the 32 teams in the league. Which defensive stat, if any, is it points against, or is there a particular defensive metric or stat that makes you say that you look at it and say that's a defense, that's a good defense or a bad defense? Is it points against? Is it third down? What is there a particular stat that you look at?
I look at a couple different things. One is time of possession. It's very important that you can get your defense off the field. Let your offense do the work. The other is third down conversion, because that percentage, if you keep that low, that means you're forcing teams to have to get out there, either kick a punt or a field goal. I like those. As far as like points for and stuff, we all know, Jay, that some of these games, especially if they're shootouts or if you're getting blown out in the game, sometimes those stats are a little lopsided. So I don't necessarily look at points for and against that much. But like I said, time possession, third down, efficiency. And then, like I said, if you the other one is goes without saying, turnovers. Your turnover margin is incredibly important. You take the ball away more than you give it away, then more than likely you're going to be winning more games than you lose.
Okay, so let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. So believe in the Arizona Cardinals. So if we look at the Arizona Cardinals, we know Kyler Murray is going to be starting. If you look at the depth chart in terms of what it looks like now, James Conner will be the starting running back. We had Benjamin, that will be backing him up. We have Marquise Brown, AJ Green, questionable Rondale Moore, so we don't know. Maybe that's going to be interesting to see how that will. Greg Dortch be somebody who ends up getting that started the third wide receiver slot. But Zack Ernst, again, questionable right now. Trey McBride backing him up. And then we have DJ Humphries. We have Justin Pugh, some of these wonderful guys that you like on the offensive line. But as I say that, Justin Pugh is questionable. Rodney Hudson is questionable. So Rodney Hudson, of course, being the center. How do you feel about DJ Humphries? I've never really asked you about how you feel about him. Do you think that he's a serviceable offensive tackle? How do you feel about him?
Jay, that's a good question. I'm kind of, it's like an incomplete grade for me. This season is going to tell me a lot in terms of whether he's serviceable or not. As you know, I've always said, this organization, if they're not looking at the situation we're in with this offensive line, and regardless of how this season goes, successful or not successful, offensive line to me is something they absolutely 100% have to address, not waiting for the draft, meaning you got to go out and approach some of these high-end free agent guys, try to get them in here. We all know that Rodney Hudson, he's a couple of minutes away from deciding, maybe I'm done, that type of thing. So you can't plan on him any further than this season. So this is something they have to address. DJ Humphries, let me ask you a question. If you are a starting quarterback in the NFL, how comfortable would you be drop back 35 times knowing that DJ Humphries had your blind side? That's the big question. If you ask any quarterback, there are a lot of quarterbacks who are like, man, I know that dude got me, No, not a worry at all. Not a worry in the world. That's why he's getting paid all that money. How comfortable would you be dropping back 35 times with somebody coming off the edge with DJ Humphries got your back? That's always the biggest question.
Interesting. So you bring up a good point there. So if we look at the defensive side of the ball for the Arizona Cardinals, of course, we have the questionable J.J. Watt at left defensive end. We got nose tackle Rashard Lawrence. We have Zach Allen at right defensive end. We have the weak side linebacker Dennis Gardeck. We have Zaven Collins, left inside linebacker. We have Isaiah Simmons. He will be calling defensive plays for at least the first week of the season. We got Marcus Golden again. Is he a hold in? One of those things where, look, I'm gonna act like I'm a play. I'm here, but I'm not really playing. Ooh, I got that lingering toe issue. I got that lingering big toenail issue, whatever it is, but something, right? And so if he doesn't play, then Myjai Sanders will start in his spot. And one of those things where you're trying to prove a point, like, well, go ahead and let the rookie start, and then you'll see how much I'm worth. And then we have on the quarterback position, we got Byron Murphy. We have Jalen Thompson will be starting at the strong safety. We know Budda Baker at free safety, and then we have Marco Wilson, who they demoted. And then, of course, we had an injury with Antonio Hamilton. So then, with Antonio Hamilton. So that's going to necessitate him to get back into the starting position at right quarterback position. The defense. There are a lot of question marks. That's why it was so surprising when I did my prediction and I came up with 10 wins. And I'm going to get to what ESPN on a kind of a generated kind of computerized thing, what they thought the Cardinals record would be. That made me laugh out loud. But there are some definite question marks, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We don't know how that inside line, both of those inside linebackers are going to do, especially Zaven Collins, as he was anointed the guy that was supposed to be calling plays on the defensive side of the ball. But how do you think this defense, because we know that they're coming up against what should be a high-powered offense in the Kansas City Chiefs?
I guess the good thing about this particular game, Jay, is it's the first one of the season.
Okay.
If the Chiefs were coming in here week 4, 5, 6, and we've seen them like just mowing people down, I'd be like, oh my God. The best part of this game is it's game number 1.
Right.
We don't know how, even all that preseason work that they got. Hopefully they're, we don't know how fine-tuned they are. We don't know how sloppy we might be, and it might all work out where it's just everybody out there trying to feel their way, and we turn this into a game. My fear, though, Jay, is that with all those weapons and the fact that I'm just, Mahomes and Andy Reid, and they take this stuff seriously, man. Start of the season and the end.
Wait a minute. So why you say it like that, man? Why you say it like that?
I'm just saying the mentality of this Cardinals team from our head coach down. Okay. I told you on Saturday. I read something to you on Saturday where our head coach literally said,
speak on it. Yes, we didn't mention that the other day. Speak on that.
He said, how can I tell my players that they have to go, and I'm paraphrasing, I can pull it up if you want me to get the exact quote. He said, how can I tell my players to go out there and play in preseason games when the Rams don't? Because look what the Rams do. They've won that way. So how can I tell my players that they have to go out there? And you know my answer to you, Cliff Kingsbury? Because you're the damn coach. That's how you can tell them to go out there, because your philosophy is, I want my guys to get at least a little work. But here's the thing. His players have been sitting there whining about, well, look, they don't hit in preseason. They don't play anybody in the preseason games. Why should we have to go out there and do it? And that's why I'm saying to you, the Chiefs are taking this seriously. The Chiefs know to get a little, to be good, you got to practice like you want to be good. You got to go out there and get a little preseason in, maybe do a little more than, and I guarantee you, Andy Reid, I've been in an Andy Reid system before. I played for the man. I know how important, preparation is to him. I'm not even sure. Like I said, we got guys who are, taking rest days, and we haven't even got to the regular season yet.
Bruh, they're trying to be ready for the second half, man.
Okay. I am just so confused at the approach of that. Think about it, Jay. Think about everything you did at the end of last year. You faltered down the hill, but you did get into the playoffs. We took a beating, but there was a whole bunch of teams that couldn't say they made it to the playoffs. How much would we have gained by, hey, let's build on that. Let's go out and be better than we were last year. That means we might have to put a little more extra work in, though. We've had a quarterback that, could care less about getting into a game, who he's throwing to, because apparently as soon as we get to this Saturday, there must be a switch somewhere in the building over there where we just don't know. It's like that red button that the president has, right? It's top secret. But they got somebody's opened it up. We need the 2 keys to put in there simultaneously so we can turn them and get ready, because come Sunday morning at 1:00 Arizona time, boom, we're gonna hit it and we're gonna go.
Sir.
That's just the way. I guess that's the way we plan on going into this season.
This is gonna be the best season ever. I swear, it's gonna be the best season. It's gonna be so good.
Here's the thing, Jay.
Yo,
I'm ready and willing to take whatever comes my way.
No, but this is gonna be cool, because it's not as if we're both just indifferent. I mean, we have opinions, and that's the cool thing, having opinions and not malicious in the opinions that we have. It's just the observations and things that we have. I'm just, again, for those who are listening, you thinking, man, Ed is being real hard. If you listen to our radio show every Saturday on Easy Sports Talk, 1060 AM KDUS 1060, 10 a.m. to noon Arizona time, I'm hard on Devin Booker. I'm the dude that's always – I'm the dude when I say 8 and when I say Ed is hate on Kyler and Cliff, I'm the dude that hate on Devin, because I have such high expectations for him, and they seem to annoy him in terms of in the Valley. So strong opinion, and then oftentimes you're looking at me saying, well, they in the finals, Jay. Yeah, they are. I got to give credit. I got to give credit where credit is due. So it's going to be a fun season for sure. So let me ask you this. So we know how this breaks down. We talked about the defense. That's going to be a question mark in terms of how we think that's going to go. Kyler, is he coming out strong out the gate? is he coming out strong? Is he? I mean, there's so many question marks, right? We don't know if Rondale, because Rondale, when I say Rondale, that makes me think of my uncle with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth, saying his name is Wendell. So when I think of Rondale, I think of Wendell. But are the Cardinals going to come out firing on all cylinders? I don't know. Because we haven't seen anybody play in the preseason. So there's so many question marks when it comes to how the offense will start. But we have the super small sample size of last year in week 1, where they surprised us for at least the first 3 weeks of the season offensively.
I'll tell you, there's an advantage to not showing anybody anything, Jay, is that we have not just we have no idea what the Cardinals are going to do coming out of the blocks. So do the Chiefs. The Chiefs literally have to go back to last year, the end of the season, pick some of those games, because you're not going to look at the preseason games because nobody was playing in those. They're going to have to go back to last year's games, start formulating an idea. Well, this could be their game plan. So they're playing at a disadvantage, as we know. But the problem is, so is our offense and defense, because none of these guys have gone out there and gotten any what I call serious work in, timing with your quarterback. Bruh, it is so easy to go out there 7-on-7, and then even in the 9-on-7 drills, but everybody's instructed stay up, don't hit, don't tackle, that type of thing. Guys get out there and they put their best moves on. They catch the ball and they do that nice little trot for a couple of yards after they catch it, right? Now all of a sudden, these dudes, for the first time since last year, are going across the middle, catching balls, and the dudes in the other color are coming to knock your head off. And it takes a little while to adjust and get ready for that. Our young man Kyler Murray, he hadn't had anybody chasing him since what the Rams did to him back in January. You think the Chiefs gonna be like, this is thud drill? You know, we can't hit anybody. We gotta stay up, bro. I guarantee you, they got an attack to up the fields, contain, pressure up the middle, and we're gonna try to make this man uncomfortable. And bro, you asked me what I think I'm gonna see from Kyler. I don't know, because we haven't seen anything. But at the same time, they haven't done anything to get ready for this. And that scares me a little bit. And that's why I say, and I'll throw this out at you, Jay, one last thing. Be prepared, because there's no conditioning to get you ready for this 60 minutes. This isn't whistle, hey, let's change groups and that. This is now 60 minutes, conditioning, offensive line, holding, procedure calls, because all these things happen when the game speeds up. And these are things when what's the difference? Everybody's going to have penalties. If we have an excessive amount of penalties, that means there's a possibility a penalty or two could take us out of a drive that could lead us to, maybe taking control of this game. I just worry because we have not done any work, and all these things are going to be factored in. The good thing, Jay, is come Monday night or Sunday night, Monday morning, when we do our next podcast, we're going to know. So we're not going to have to worry about pretending or trying to figure this out. We're going to see what's coming up here just a couple days or so.
Yes, indeed. So believe in the Arizona Cardinals. Before we get into a couple of other things, before we let you head out into that good afternoon, good evening, or good night. So ESPN, they ran. They have their NFL. What is it? Their NFL FPI, where essentially it's kind of a predictor of sorts. So ESPN FPI, and so a predictor on how teams will perform, what their records will be, kind of how they're favored in games, the percentage, winning percentage. It's all this algorithmic, algebraic calculus, all this good stuff. And your record that you had for the Arizona Cardinals was 8-9. Correct?
8-9. Mm-hmm.
I had 10-7, and even that I was thinking, man, did I 10-7? Did I say that right? And I was looking at it, and ESPN's FPI, pardon me, has the Cardinals at a likely 13-4 record in 2022. I'll just chill for a second to let you respond to that.
How do you go minus Chandler Jones, even Christian Kirk? You got all these pieces going. Hopkins on a 6-game suspension. They'll start the season. The only thing we did was re-sign our backup quarterback. We brought Will Hernandez over from the Giants and a couple other pieces. And we're supposed to be better than last year with an even tougher record or schedule. I have no idea how they came up with that one, bro. If I was almost ready to say something real crazy, I would do XYZ if the Cardinals hit that record.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm not going to do it. But I'm very confident the Cardinals are not getting to 13 wins in this division, playing against the AFC West as well. No, not this year.
Just so you know, so before we get into the last, as we come down the stretch here, so you know that we did something with our Benny Blue, JB and Benny Blue review just last night, and JB has the Cardinals winning this division.
He went so far as to do that last year as well.
Yeah, man, I'm just saying.
Last year, it was kind of an unknown, and I would say, I'd say Benny, okay, look, even they were talking that mess last year, and I was still like, man, what y'all smoking? But they came close to it. This year, with what we've seen so far, how you can come up with that assessment, and that's the thing, Jay. If it would have been an off season of total quiet and everybody just busting their tail and working hard, regardless of what division they would play in, I'd say, yeah, they're on the right track. The way we've handled this offseason, the way our quarterback has, showed his leadership or lack thereof, I'm just saying this does not look like
great season.
I am so happy to be here, Jay. I'm so happy to be in this position, meaning we're getting ready for all the talk to be over. It's time to put up or shut up, boy.
All right, so let's get the last couple things. So, how important is it for the Cardinals to come through the first quarter of the season at 2-2? We have the Chiefs at home, Raiders on the road, Rams at home, and Panthers on the road. How important would that be to just go 2-2?
Well, it's monumentally huge for me, Jay, because of what we've seen over the last 2 years. Imagine the starts that they had last year. They went 7-7. And still faltered down the line. Imagine if they got off to a slow start, match that with the falter at the end of the line, you could be looking at a 8-7-6 win team this year. So, and then the other thing is in this division, I mean, we are yet to know what San Francisco's going to look like with their new quarterback. We know the Rams.
Well, that's a question mark for me in some level. Not a huge question mark, but it's just do they come out? Do they have the same intensity? Do they want to just continue to just beat down the division? That's the question mark for me.
I see hunger still in their eyes.
Okay.
And mainly, and I'll tell you this much right now, the leadership that they have in Sean McVay that's where their edge is. This dude's not going to allow you, even some of these veterans, to sleep on their laurels. He's going to have these dudes ready to go, in my opinion.
So that's why you don't let your team play during the preseason, because Sean McVay is okay. Continue. How important is it?
I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to get my blood pressure up.
He gonna hit me when he sees me on Saturday.
Now, like I said, I'm not going to belabor just kill the point. Like I said, I just think because of the fact that we've had some very slow finishes. If we have a slow finish, match that, or slow start, match that with a slow finish, that spells disaster. The other thing to keep in mind, Jay, the psyche of this team is very important as well.
Okay.
I mean, if we get off to a slow start, there are going to be a lot of people pointing fingers at our young quarterback and at 46.3 that he's getting per year. Are his shoulders big enough to take the amount of criticism that might come from a 1-3 or 0-4 or whatever? We get through 6 games and we're 2-4. The amount of, I guess, chatter that's going to be in the winds as a young quarterback who's already shown his propensity to go into his shell, not want to address things. Does it force him even further into the shell, or does he come out swinging with all his teammates behind his back? We're going to get this taken care of. It's going to be really important, in my opinion, for them to get off to a good start, because if they don't, then we might find out very early what Kyler Murray is really made of, and that could be a bad thing,